Hi everyone, welcome to the Quartermaster Intelligence Briefing, conversations with nonprofit industry experts, software innovators, fundraising leaders, helping you navigate the technology landscape for your nonprofit organization. You have a mission to do, and Quartermaster, we are here to help you to accomplish it. And I am your host, Sam Kirk, from Quartermaster and the Q Intel community. My guest today is Sal Salpietro, the Chief Community Officer for Fundraise Up. Fundraise Up has become one of the most popular online donation platforms in its relatively short history, and I really don't think it's an overstatement to say that the platform has been a massive part in radically transforming the online donation experience for many donors. I look back on my days when I first started in this sector, and seeing what was there then and seeing what is available now is just incredible, especially as there have been also a number of other new innovators who have come into the space who are also working to advance the transformation of online giving. I'm really excited to have Sal here to talk about the launch of the Fundraise Up API that the company launched not that long ago, as well as some other topics. So let's get started with today's briefing. With me is Sal Salpietro of Fundraise Up, and I'm really excited to have him here. This is our first episode, but also, so I'm really excited Sal agreed to come on here and talk a little bit about the new API they just released. But Sal, why don't you introduce yourself and
yeah, you and I, we go back. We go back to Vegas.
Yes,
where we kind of first met, right at AFP
Icon, yeah,
2022.
I believe that's right. Yes, that sounds right.
Feels about right.
Yeah,
it feels longer. It feels like I've known you forever.
I know exactly. For good and bad. For good and bad. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We both had a lot of life that happened in between, but we're still here, you and I. It's great.
That's right.
So my name is Sal Salpietro, Chief Community Officer now at Fundraise Up. Used to run partnerships. That's when we met, and have been at Fundraise Up since day two. I like to say day two, not day one. I'm not a founder, but it's day two. I was the first employee hired to help get us out there, and then here we are, 230 employees now, and we plan to double by the end of the year. So
that's amazing.
End of next year.
I know you've talked about this in some other places and stuff, but I'm just to sidetrack for a second. I'm like, what was it that kind of drew you into? Because I know you had some history, marketing, digital marketing, and that sort of thing. But also, you were working for some charities, or you have been in that side, much like myself as well. And but I'm curious, like when the guys came to you and hey, we're starting up this thing, come join us, Sal. Like, sort of just paint that little bit of that picture and what really intrigued you about this and why, and now you've been there for a bunch of years. So like, what kind of drives you a little bit?
Right prior to Fundraise Up, I was the director of digital at a nonprofit. Right prior to that, I was in e-commerce tech. So I had this very clear before and after comparison period where I go, e-commerce tech, solid, kicks ass, works, optimized, doesn't break, no bugs. And then I went to the nonprofit space and I went, this thing doesn't have any of the features I need. Yeah. It's not resilient. It's not robust. It's not aligned with my goals. And I struggled at that org in the online revenue part of it. How do I had 1 million website visitors a month, high traffic at childmind.org. How do I get them to donate? And the donate page was getting clicks, but I wasn't getting conversions. And I said, something's broken here. And that got me hype. And then around that time of peak frustration, I get an email from the founders of Fundraise Up saying, hey, we got this idea, give it a whirl, let me know what you think. And I dropped it in and it crushed my expectations. And I said, whatever you want to get this company off the ground, if you need help, call me, I'm around.
Yeah.
And that's it. About a year after that, they said, let's do it. And that was it.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now it's been a number of years. Like you said, you're up to 200 plus employees and
5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know I was introduced to Fundraise Up, late 2021. Mm-hmm. I had also I worked in charities and then I ended up working for a marketing agency, and we'd had this, I was the product manager for this kind of this online platform that we'd been sort of developing very off the side of everyone's desk. But with COVID, suddenly our agency, which relied a lot on very like in-person sprints and that sort of thing, suddenly we weren't like able to have people in. So suddenly I'm, helping to, this side project of mine became my only thing. And then also it then became the entire focus of the company. And, seeing we were trying to build some online giving forms, and you're looking at the what are the other sort of the competitors out there. And of course, I've used those competitors in the past, and they were all right, but it was just like so. The thing that got me really excited when I first got introduced to Fundraise Up was just how like flippin' easy it was with just the right amount of kind of friction. Like zero friction is probably actually not great because then no one's really thinking about their gift. But
Sure.
at the same time, having like great example is so at AFP Icon in Vegas in 2022, I'd gotten this. My friend of mine and his wife had started this small little charity. They needed online giving. I'm like, give Fundraise Up a try. So he gets this all set up. Texts me while I'm sitting in a session. I got it up and running, and I went on there, and it was the easiest 2.5 minutes on my phone.
I didn't know this. I didn't know
making
this
cool. gift. I made their first sort of donation to them, and to be able to do that, it was just one of those. I came away from that kind of going, oh man, it just confirms to me like that great UI, great user experience, paying attention to, what makes it like. What draws people to actually make that sort of conversion? Now, I was predisposed to give because I helped them and that sort of thing.
Sure.
But the fact that I went in there on my phone, hit the button, and just walked through it so quick. It was just it was one of those. It was the moment that I went, this is it. Now, obviously, you guys have got new competitors and things are coming up and stuff like that. Which it's exciting for the industry in terms of everyone finally going, whoa! I think we all got to wake up, including some of those big incumbents.
It's surprising to me that it took so long.
Right?
Like I'm not sure. Like why did it get ignored for so long? And that's still something I won't ever have an answer to. But the threshold for friction for a donor is way lower than threshold for friction in getting a new pair of shoes or getting a pizza. Even getting a pizza is easy as hell. Like you just Face ID and like tap, done.
Yeah.
Right, it's done. But I'll put some extra effort into it, even if I have to. Getting the shoes, if it gives me an error, or if I got to type in my address manually, whatever, I'll do it. But for a donation, like the slightest thing that puts me off is all just money and generosity left on the table for nonprofits. And when I see donation forms that have a CAPTCHA that say like, check this if you're a human, like my heart cries. Like I don't see that anywhere else.
Right. Yeah.
In like my e-commerce world life, or if I see like it's not auto-completing my address, or the only payment option is one option, like we're not getting it. And that's kind of what we set out to do. It's just kind of like elevate that experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remove all the barriers, get rid of the friction, and like generosity like multiplies. You just get rid of the obstacles. Why are we putting obstacles? That's it.
The fact that they hit the button says that they're like ready to do something, because otherwise it's like this isn't like it's like, well, I'll press this button because I want to find out, like, read the description on the shoes, right? Like like up to that point, like hopefully I've already made that information, like I've checked that information, and now I'm going, okay,
even kind of worse, Sam. When I click the button, I've already confirmed to myself that I'm generous.
Right.
I got what I came for. If I finish the donation or not, that doesn't change. I've confirmed my generosity. And if I fail to finish because of errors or friction or whatever, that's on you, not on me. I still tried.
Because they still feel like because they already got that point of like in the
dopamine,
same way, like
serotonin, whatever it is. Yeah.
When my Amazon package arrives, that's the moment where I get excited when I press the buy now button, and then when the delivery truck pulls up on my driveway and drops the thing off, and I get the notification saying the package is on your doorstep. Yep. I get the dopamine hit. I get the feelings of, oh man, that was great, and I hope to God that when I open it, it meets expectations, right?
Right.
But as we know, in this, in the nonprofit industry, it's actually at the moment of hitting the button that actually confirms them kind of going, I'm a good person. I have taken an action, and if that doesn't convert, that doesn't mean that they were a bad person. Like you say, that's on the charity to have.
It almost confirms my hesitation to give, because I go, well, if their tech's so bad, like, why would I give to them anyway? Like, let me go find another org that has their shit together.
Well, and that's ready to take my my
Right.
obvious generosity, because yeah. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
what got me excited when I saw like the platform. And obviously, in the intervening almost 3 years, you guys have completely, you've made some amazing sort of things. And of course, now, like I said, I know there's competitors coming up that are also kind of going, oh man, yeah, like this is what I wanted to do too. And so now I'm starting to. It's like it's probably spurring you guys to do great stuff, and they're spurring them to do great stuff. And it's like it is really like
Yep.
it's completely changed. Even like you see some of the the big CRM incumbents suddenly like, oh, their forms are looking a lot like you know like Fundraise Up's forms and that sort of thing. And you're sort of like, oh, the light went on, hey everybody,
It's
yeah.
it's always good to be the one that they're trying to catch up to, though. I'll tell
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Puts pressure on you guys to do great stuff, which is probably
Sure.
why. Let's talk about the new release, or the recent release. I think it was middle of
What a
October.
segue!
I
Nice
know, man,
segue.
that worked out pretty well. Middle of October, you guys released the Fundraise Up API, and this really is what I wanted to talk about because having come from, I was not a programmer or developer, but I got to work with people that did get to work with APIs and those sort
Yeah.
of things. I think a lot of people have no idea what the F is an API, number one,
Hmm.
and why was this so important? And tell me a little bit about what brought Fundraise Up to doing this now. So yeah, if you can just want to explain it, because I think what I'm curious is like, can this be something that organizations could find a way to use? Obviously ones at
Hmm.
big scale probably can use this really well, but what about even
Right.
smaller organizations and
Right.
that sort of thing?
Cool. So, I mean, you get to work with Q. So, Francis is amazing, and he's a great developer, and I think he's even asked in the past for API stuff. Building an API for us was us catching up with the legacy incumbents. Um, they all have APIs.
And an
API,
API, yeah, it's a connector, right? It's effectively how do we connect the pipes from
sure,
multiple different systems together so they can talk to each other. I mean, that's really reductive, but
correct,
yeah,
correct. It's allowing our data to exit our platform and go into some other platform of your choosing, right? But you build it, right? So um, while we have native integrations that we build and maintain for the key CRMs out there, if you start, at the SMB and the smaller nonprofits, you have Bloomerang, and then you get up to Donor Perfects and Salesforces and so on and so forth. We have native integrations for those
yeah,
that we build, we maintain. For those, we don't need an API. They need an API
you're
for
right.
us to send to. We got to a point where the requests for interoperability and integration with other systems became too many for us to even contemplate building integrations to everything and everyone and everywhere, even tangential systems like a Dataro or a Tatango for text messaging. They're saying, hey, can we get an integration going? Like, well, that's really on the periphery for us.
Yeah,
Here's an API, right? Now, why did it take us 5 years to build an API? Because APIs slow you down as a company.
right.
You now, when you allow others to build to you, you are now you now carry obligations and responsibilities to them.
You
Whereas
got to
if you
keep
don't have,
maintaining this to make sure this continues to meet the
and if you make a
standard that
change,
they're expecting, right? And what connects, and yeah,
correct. And if you make a change, you can't just make a change.
no,
You got to check with 500 people before you make a change. Your base of stakeholders that you have to get a decision through is now much larger. And
yeah,
now when you say, well, we're no longer going to send the data in this format, we're going to send it in this format, you need 500 people to update their integration, or you need to support your old and new way. So you can see how
yeah.
for a startup that's trying to get off the ground to make impact, an API can slow us down
You'd
considerably.
have to chuck it. You have to chuck a bunch of bodies at this to effectively to keep this thing up
Tons.
and running. Whereas, I mean, where did you put your bodies? You put your bodies at the, on the. Let's make this checkout experience just
Correct.
amazing for people,
Correct. It was
right?
all front end, a lot of the analysis, data, the donor experience, and so on. Now it's write APIs, make sure it's staying up to date with exports and other data points, and make sure that it's scalable and usable. So it took us a while to do it because it slows us down. We are one of the few platforms that has one singular focus: donor
Right.
experience, revenue.
Yeah.
Whereas most others will say, well, we have that and events and auctions and CRM and it becomes very wide. but fairly shallow.
Yeah.
So now that we have the API, we can go even deeper. So we're always going deeper on what we're doing.
Yeah.
Should we talk about use cases for the API?
Exactly. That was exactly where I wanted to go. What can we do with it? What can't we do with it? Yeah.
Okay. So the API, you need a developer. Probably your agency is going to have more resources if you're a mid-size org or smaller to do something with it than not. And that's typically going to take our data and pull it into something like a business insights tool, a BI tool.
Sure.
Or it's going to pull it into a data lake where all the data is going to dump into one place, and that big piece of software is going to chop up all the data and distribute it where it needs to go and format it for different needs and so on. That's one of the key uses for the API by nonprofits that are mid-size and larger. Up and down from small nonprofits all the way up to mega huge organizations, they're going to be using the API through vendors. So
right.
Dataro is building an integration, and that will pull Fundraise Up data into their system. And you might say, well, can't Dataro just get the data from the CRM? Well, Fundraise Up has a lot more data than actually fits into your CRM.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're holding on to a whole bunch of stuff that for whatever reason maybe that CRM doesn't have a way to ingest that. Like
most CRMs don't have a field that say last browser used by the donor.
Right.
Or this gift was made on an iPhone 16. Most do not have. Dare I say maybe none.
Right. Yeah.
But a Dataro who's doing predictive analytics with AI on what your next ask should be will find that information incredibly useful in helping shape predictions, because they'll say, I know it's not in their CRM, but Fundraise Up can tell me that they were on this IP address, on this device, on this browser, and that's indicative of a donor that gives X or does X.
Right.
Right? So up and down the nonprofit size spectrum, they're going to be using our API through other platforms that build integrations to us on that API. The other key use case for us is face-to-face or canvassing. It depends on where you live, what you call it. Until the API, there was no way to give your donors that you acquire in face-to-face activities the same donor experience that your website donors have.
Right.
So the way that typically works is I go out, I'm using an iPad. I say, would you make a gift to ASPCA? Yes. It gets saved. It gets processed maybe hours later or at the end of the day. And then they have to do a token transfer, and the donors are sitting in some kind of subset, and it's not the same donor portal. And it's a whole different experience.
Sure. Yeah.
By giving an API, we're now allowing our face-to-face, our nonprofits that we work with that do face-to-face and canvassing, to use the API to give everybody the same experience, centralize the data, have one unique data flow, one unique experience for all donors. That's a major use case for us as well.
Right. So in that scenario, if we carry that scenario forward, now, I mean, that probably won't apply to a ton of maybe of people, but is it them building their own sort of like, okay, well we've got like this iPad app or this Galaxy tablet app that we've built, this Android app, and so we can fill this in, and then when they hit submit, it's then basically it's like they're creating their own checkout, but it's being connected through the API,
correct,
directly into Fundraise Up. So then it's you then do all the processing, but they're able to kind of build their own. They're able to kind of have their own sort of thing that hey, donor
correct,
on the street or at the door, fill this in. We just need these things. It's done.
That's right.
Is that right? Okay.
That's correct. And it's to allow transactions to happen in contexts that are different than web and online.
Okay. So it's not meant to replace what you guys are doing on, like, in other ways. Like when I go and install Fundraise Up on my website, there is like the UI that you guys have developed, the form, light boxes pops
this is
up.
not meant
This is not that.
This is not meant to give nonprofits a way to build their own donor form on Fundraise Up's API. How can we protect against that? You can't do PayPal through the API. You can't do, Apple Pay through the API. There's some limitations on an API that require a front end. So it's really for specific cases. If a nonprofit were to use it to build their own donation form, could they? Yes. It would be credit card only. You'd be shooting yourself in the foot because you're not getting any of the testing, any of the automation, the AI, the dynamics that we have in the front end.
Okay, gotcha. Use cases like in terms of like maybe smaller nonprofits, like is this something that someone would want to be taking advantage of? Like you say, okay, well, great, I've got, it's like, if I'm a client of Dataro's and I'm a client of Fundraise Up, you guys are taking care of that already. So it's like, I'm in my Dataro account and go, oh, wow, I can connect these, fantastic. And suddenly, right, like that would be all taken care of for me. But is there, for a smaller nonprofit, like a mid-size, maybe not the smallest ones, but like, what would be potentially the kinds of use cases that, outside that sort of enterprise level sort of thing that might, or is there a use case for that? I'm curious. Yeah.
Not really. The biggest use case for a small to medium nonprofit is to see where they wish Fundraise Up was integrated or were able to integrate, and then ask that vendor, can you build an integration to that platform?
So just even the fact that people are trying to use the API gives you understanding of like what is the market trying to actually accomplish.
Correct.
Like it gives you a little bit more insight, versus like, I mean, you could ask people in the survey, but you're actually seeing it trying to happen in real world scenarios. Yeah.
So Tatango does SMS, at scale, and they're saying basically, well, I don't really want to wait for the data to go from Fundraise Up to the CRM and the CRM to marketing and then marketing to Dataro. I just want Tatango, when a donation's made and a phone number is provided, suck in the phone number, shoot out a text and say thank you to them, right? But they need to have that integration direct with Fundraise Up for that to happen. Yeah. So looking for use cases like that, if it's a United, is it Dataro, is it this, the small to mediums, they're going to basically say, I wish I could get X and Y done with Fundraise Up and this other platform. Let me ask my vendor. So that's, the pathway is there now.
Right.
When you go mid and up, you're looking at face-to-face, canvassing, and asking their vendors that do that to use the API, which we have a number of them already doing it. Global Faces, Multiply Strategies, Evergiving, GiveBridge, etc. They're building now. And then you have data lakes and business and insight tools and so on. So that's kind of where those uses stack.
Yeah, so for like that mid to small, and I'm kind of coming back to this because largely probably the could be anyone could be listening to this or watching this, but but if someone that at smaller end is kind of going, but does this apply to me? Well, it sounds like it's sort of like, well, if you probably have multiple systems yourself, and if there isn't and maybe it is already connecting into your CRM for whatever way that is. Or maybe it's not. And you're having to do a lot of manual entry. But now you might be able to go to your CRM and go, I'm using Fundraise Up. I'm not getting off of that thing. Love you guys. Don't want to use your form, so I'm going to use this one. But I see you don't have a direct sort of connection. It's like, they have an API now, and this is kind of a deal breaker for me. Like, in terms of them,
there's no excuses now. Right.
There's no excuses. Like if you're trying to be of service to me, the charity, as a good technology partner, part of
I'll give you an example.
Stack, it's like,
There's a good example, Beacon CRM out of the UK.
Right.
And they got their donation forms. They love ours. Their customers love ours. They love Beacon and Fundraise Up together. And Beacon says, we're going to build an integration to Fundraise Up because we want, when the donations happen there, to pop into our CRM immediately. So that's that kind of use case, and they're right there in that small medium space as well.
And suddenly they're doing it, and this is actually now on Fundraise Up to keep building all these integrations. You guys are actually hey, we've given you the tools.
Correct.
Go for it.
Correct.
Software developers. So
that's right.
Okay, so this is like the thing that people can be looking forward to probably is chances are more platforms are going to start to build more direct integrations with you guys, which is exciting for them. But also it gives hey, if your platform doesn't have one, start putting some pressure on your CRM vendor or whatever other platform,
tool it is,
whatever tool it is, like your email or
if there's a use case there that makes if the integration can enhance the value of both, that's what we're looking for,
right? Like
That's it.
this shouldn't just be the sum of its parts. It should be much greater than the sum of its parts. Like
Absolutely.
in an ideal
Absolutely.
world, like if we can start putting, everyone's got multiple tools. Lots of systems were like, well, you come for us for everything. But like you're saying,
Yeah.
often it's like it's a mile wide and an inch deep, or actually probably more accurately, it's like two or three things of their core products are actually pretty decent, and it's
Right.
kind of everything else that kind of just, I don't know, suffers is the right
Afterthought.
word, but
Yeah.
it might not be as deep as it was if that was the only thing they did.
Correct.
And so, giving them, and if online giving forms are to be desired on those platforms, it's like the exciting thing is that, well, without not a ton of effort, I would imagine you guys got good
Sure.
documentation. Like they should be able to, if they got an API on their end, why are these not talking to each other? And so this could be really exciting for lots of charities that have systems and have desired it, but kind of like, oh, I don't have
Right.
developers, I don't know how to do this. Soon it's like you
I,
don't have to if everyone at the vendor level is doing their job, right? So
sure, but that's how ecosystems evolve and get built. I mean, HubSpot is virtuous even. Um, Tons of integrations, a very open ecosystem mentality. Some
yeah,
they build, some others build. It's how it's got to be. You know, I think the
yeah,
days of nonprofit tech saying, "Well, use our tech or nothing," those days are done.
yeah. I just,
You know,
yeah, I think when I think that's the thing that always kind of struck me, about what you guys have been doing at Fundraise Up. It's sort of like, and you said it earlier, it's like this is what we do.
right?
We do this, and we're not trying to build out a CRM on this, or we're not trying to stick on like some massive email system, or whatever the
Yeah,
scenario is. We are doing online giving, and we are going to optimize this experience for donors, and that's it. And we're going to do this amazing,
yeah.
and the benefits are there. People see that and kind of going, I love this experience, hook me up, and so
Have you heard of Raising Cane's, the fried chicken, the chicken
yeah, we don't have
fingers?
it. I'm here in Canada, we don't have it, but I do
Okay.
know it. Yeah,
It's like we're like the chicken tenders. Like we're not going to put burgers on the menu and pizza
right.
and burritos and all that. We're going to do really good tenders.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna stick to what you're really good at, and yeah, and so well, I'm excited about this, Sal, because it sounds like, I guess what people will probably have to look forward to is platforms that they're on they might start seeing
Yep.
integrations actually happening. I think one of the, and if you're not seeing integrations happening, it's like, this is a great time to start talking to your vendors of whatever
Sure.
software that is, whether it's your CRM or any other system, and start saying, I really need you to hook this up. And they might go, actually, it is on our roadmap.
Hey,
Or,
as
God, oh,
as
really?
wild as it sounds, I would like. It sounds wild. Like I would love for Fundraise Up and Classy to integrate. I would love it
Sure.
because they have all that stuff. I think it's almost a taboo word for me to say, but it's not. Like they've got events, they've got auctions, they've got ticketing, they've got all the things that we don't, and a lot of our customers want those things and us, and I feel like they should be allowed to have that if they want to.
Yeah, like let's turn this into, yeah, like you say, like this, like the greater the sum, it's greater than the sum of its parts, right? Like it's like, yeah, if you like a pro platform for these things, you shouldn't be penalized for that,
Here's
or
the
yeah,
I'll call it real world comparison, and by real world I mean the nonprofit
right,
space, right?
right,
The real
yes,
world, right?
yeah,
Um, Salesforce and HubSpot. Both are CRMs, both have marketing software, both are the two most integrated solutions because people say, I like HubSpot marketing, but I like Salesforce CRM. Same thing for a Squarespace and a MailChimp. Both have websites, both have email deliverability, but they integrate more than any other app in their ecosystem because people go, I like their website, but I like their email marketing. That's where we got to be.
trying to force everyone to fit within, the one size fits all type thing is like, I think that's what, I think that's what we've been seeing for years now in this space, is like that just doesn't exist now. If
Yep.
a platform can do an all in one or a lot of tools and really do them great, I mean, that's incredible. Like
Sure.
that's amazing, but you're never going to get 100% of the people satisfied that with 100% of the time. So
Yep.
giving that
Yep.
flexibility and making it, just like you say, there really is no excuse now for any vendor to not allow other systems to come in. I know of a few software that actually turns me off when I see that they don't want to do that, and
Mm-hmm.
it actually makes me like, we're often in the business here at Quartermaster where we are recommending things to people, or we're bringing suggestions. So someone comes and says, hey, I want to change, I'm dissatisfied with my current CRM, can you give me options? The ones that we're going to look at, we're going to look at their needs, we're going to look at what their goals are and start to work backwards from there, rather than we don't like doing the matrix of like, does it do email, check. Oh, well, I guess they're all equal. Well, no, they're not. There's a qualitative difference between these platforms, but the ones that I often will never put on my list are the ones that I have the perception or the 100% surety of knowing that they're just really closed off. Because I kind of go,
Sure.
That's not going to help us really later. It's
Yeah.
going to actually be more a hindrance for us at some
Sure.
stage. So I get really excited about that you guys are doing this. It may not be for everybody directly, but I think the excitement is like start putting the pressure on, like start looking at your other vendors, like of your software in your tech stack, and start saying, are you guys working to do some integration with that Fundraise Up? Because like you say, there's no excuse anymore.
And I think, I'm going to plug you. I'm going to plug Quartermaster in your team being able to look at an ecosystem, a tech stack of a nonprofit going, here's where we could get some additional value by integrating and using this API with this tool. Would you like us to do that for you? And
right. Yes.
And that can be done now, right? You guys can
Yeah.
say, well, I'm not constrained by what Fundraise Up decides to build. I now have my own Legos. I'll build my own thing.
Right. Yeah. That's super exciting. Sal, I really appreciate you coming on here to talk about this with us and letting the Q-Intel community know a little bit more about what you guys have been doing. I'm excited for more of the things that Fundraise Up continues to build, and I'm looking forward to sort of seeing those things, and we'll have to have you come back.
Likewise,
and,
dude.
talk a little bit more. But actually, another time we'll have to come back and just talk about sort of like, charities and tech in general, and just where we sort of see some things there. I think there could be some exciting conversations there as well. So thanks for being with us.
You know me, I'm Italian. I talk a lot. I'll always have something to say for you.
The Irish blarney, I know, same deal, right? So yeah. Sal, thanks so much.
All right, man. See you, dude.